Words of Joy and Hope. It is the 29th Sunday in Ordinary Time, the year
Dal
D,
Vangelo secondo
and the
Marco.
Gospel is according to Mark, chapter 10, verse 35-45, and the commentary is by Father Fernando Armelini. A good Sunday to all. To understand today's Gospel text, we must place it in context. What has happened before this embarrassing scene that is narrated to us today? These two brothers who present themselves to Jesus and say to him, "When you are in your glory, we want the first position." What happened first? Previously, Jesus, for the third time, has explained to the disciples what his destiny was going to be. His glory, the manifestation of his beauty, of the beauty of the incarnate man. He is the one who donates his life. And for the third time, Jesus tells them, "Let us go to Jerusalem, where the Son of Man will be delivered to the religious authorities." Delivers to whom? We ask, and we immediately think of Judas. But no, this is a divine passive. It is the Father who gives the lamb in the midst of wolves. It is the only way to show the wolves that they are really wolves. It is logical for the wolves to behave the way they do, but facing one that assumes a different behavior. Also, the wolves concretely realize that they did not behave like human beings, but as beasts. It is only when they see a lamb they realize that it is necessary that the Father will deliver his Son into the hands of those wolves. What will they do with this lamb? 7 actions are mentioned. They will condemn him to death. They will deliver him to the pagans. They will mock him. They will spit on his face. They will flagellate and kill him. These are the 6 actions done by people. And the 7th action is God's. He will resurrect him. This shows that the glory does not end with the death of the Lamb, but with his glory, with the resurrection. And at this point, after Jesus has said what his destiny will be, what would we expect from the disciples? We would expect that they try to dissuade him and avoid walking towards Jerusalem. And we would expect them to suggest that he stop, wait a bit for the situation to change. But none of this happened. Let us hear what their reaction was. James and John, the son of Zebedee, came to Jesus and said to him, "Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask of you." He replied, "What do you wish me to do for you?" They answered him, "Grant that in your glory we may sit one at your right and the other at your left." Jesus said to them, "You do not know what you are asking. Can you drink the cup that I will drink or be baptized in the baptism with which I am baptized?" They said to him, "We can." Jesus said to them, "The cup that I drink, you will drink, and with the baptism which I am baptized, you will be baptized. But to sit at my right or my left is not mine to give, but is for those for whom it has been prepared." The episode in which the two sons of Zebedee are involved is very embarrassing. And what happens when the evangelist writes their gospel? By that time, everything has changed radically. James has already given his life for Christ during the persecution of Herod Agrippa. He was the first of the apostles to give his life. And John, his brother, had moved to Ephesus. And he was very appreciated in all communities because he was the last one alive of those who have known the Lord. This is the reason why the evangelist Luke does not narrate this unedifying episode. And the evangelist Matthew modifies it and says, it was not they who made the request, but their mother who went to implore Jesus in a very polite way, asking him that he would take care of his two children. No, the facts are as Mark tells, as he is the closest to what had happened. It is about those two who were very concerned about being the protagonists. They present themselves to Jesus and use an educated expression. They say, we want you to do what we are going to ask of you. You have to listen to us. Jesus answered them, what do you want me to do for you? Jesus knows them well. He knows that his disciples have their dreams in mind, that is, they want to become important people, dominators. And Jesus had already told Peter, you think like Satan. You react according to the criteria of this world, according to the criteria of the people. And I want to free you from this demon that dehumanizes you. Because if you become a dominator, you must understand that you are not a person, you are a beast. I came to free you from this force that dehumanizes you, that makes you desire for power. I want you to react according to God's criteria. I want to save you, and this is salvation. Salvation is not going to paradise, but letting yourself be saved today. Time is needed, reflection is needed, a continued listening to the gospel is required to assimilate and understand what God wants in our lives. And Jesus is aware that the option he proposes is disgusting to our nature because it does not come spontaneously to us to donate everything for love. What comes spontaneously to us is the opposite, monopolize for ourselves, that all serve our egoism. This is why Jesus is very patient, and this is his pedagogy. He already knows their ambitions, because 2 times he had already put them in evidence. Let's remember, for example, when in Capernaum he asked them when they were at home, what were you talking about on the road? Jesus wants to bring out that demon that is guiding them and wants to put his spirit inside them with his word. He asks them, what do you want me to do for you? Be honest, say it. Present your dreams, and then we will analyze them together to see if these dreams you have can lead you to an authentic realization of human life. Notice how Jesus does not rebuke them immediately by saying that they are out of the way, that they are proud, that they are ignorant, that they do not understand what he was already told them many times before. No. Jesus wants to slowly cast out this demon that guides them. And this is what happens to us in prayer. It's very healthy to express our dreams because it could be that they are in tune with those of God. Prayer is the time when we confront God to see if he agrees that our aspirations are according to his will. Listen to this invitation from Jesus to express our wishes before him. They replied, grant us to sit at your glory, one on your right and one on your left. They use an example of what happened in monarchies. The king was sitting on his throne, and to his right and to his left were those who shared power with the king. The power. With his pedagogy, Jesus has already obtained the first result. He made the diabolical that was present in the 2 disciples to get out. Being great, being the first, is a desire that we all have inside of us. And God has placed it. The question is to know how to become the first, what kind of greatness you have to look for. The misunderstanding is born on the term glory. Jesus wants to involve his disciples in his glory, but it is about of knowing what true glory is. The two brothers know only one type of glory, the one that emerges and stands out through the accumulation of money, of power, prestige, to have many servants who bow down before them and obey them. And this is the glorious moment. They do not know another glory, and they think that Jesus will eventually have his moment of glory when the Romans be defeated and Jesus will sit on the throne on Jerusalem. This is the only glory in which they think. But is this the glory in which Jesus thinks? Is this true greatness? When is it that he will become glorious? The Hebrew word used to say glory is kavod. It means a moment of splendor, an opportunity in which one presents himself or herself with all the beauty. And also, when talking about the glory of God, it is understood the revelation of his beauty, his greatness, his power. People have projected on God their conception of glory, and they imagined that God was glorious when he shattered his enemies, also when he was outraged with those who did not obey him and punished those who transgressed his commandments. In this way, God was glorious. He showed himself at the height of his glory. But the question is this the beauty of God? Is this the glory of God? Here is the misunderstanding. This is not beauty, not glory. This is brutality. And we have projected it even in the face of God. And it is for this reason that God has become in Jesus of Nazareth to make us see his glory, that is, his beauty. Mastery and power is not beauty. It is not glory, it is brutality. Let us not project our glory into God, the glory of which he makes himself serve. We have projected it into God because we learned in the catechism that God created us so that we could serve him. No, this is brutality. We see the beauty and glory of God in the face of Jesus of Nazareth. The beauty of God is the immensity of his unconditional love until the total giving of his life. This is his glory. It is the opposite of the one the two sons of Zebedee have in mind. Remember what Paul says in the second letter to the Corinthians, that it is the face of Jesus that we see shine, where we see shine the glory of God. And use that very beautiful expression. Paul says, God who said, let the light shine out of darkness, has also made the light shine in our hearts to radiate and to make known the glory of God as it shines in the face of Christ. 2 Corinthians 4:6. These two, and also the other 10 as we will shortly see, were far from internalizing the idea that the person is glorious and beautiful when he or she loves, when he gives his life for the glory of his brother or sister. This is the glory, this is the beauty. The rest is neither glory nor beauty, it is unpleasant. These two brothers were not simply disciples, but were eminent figures in the early church. Let us notice and be aware how difficult it is to assimilate the new concept of glory. the glory that is revealed in Jesus of Nazareth, which is total and unconditional love. Today, even the most exemplary Christians, the more committed ones, the more available to serve the brothers and sisters, those who actively collaborate in the parish activities are often tempted. We should be aware of this. Like these two eminent apostles, they are tempted to fall back on the understanding of glory, of wanting to appear, of wanting to be seen. No. The disciple of Jesus of Nazareth has another glory, to look for the last position and to feel servant of all. We must bear in mind this, that in the Church, this compulsion comes from the logic of the evil one that is always present. Remember this famous sentence of Joseph Ratzinger, often quoted, found in the Introduction to Christianity, his book. He says, "For many, the Church has become the main obstacle to faith, because they do not see beyond the human ambition of power." Let us keep it in mind so that everything referring to human power is eliminated of our Church, to eliminate the palaces of power, this imperial dust from which we are often contaminated. And Jesus replied, "Are you able to drink the cup that I am to drink, or receive the baptism that I am going to receive?" He uses two comparisons, the one of the cup and the one of baptism. The first, the cup, drinking from the chalice, is an expression found in the Bible in a positive sense, that is, sharing joy with a person. But most of the time is found in a negative sense, that is, to participate in the destiny of the other, of that person. What does Jesus mean when he says, drink the cup? It means sharing his choice, which is a life given for others. And we all see that it is at the end of his life when Jesus will choose as the seal of his interchange, the union of the disciples' life to his own, that will be the Eucharist, as the drinking of the chalice, to share Jesus' option. This is the center of being a disciple of Christ. I repeat again, we should not concentrate on secondary things in our faith. Let us accept the proposal that Jesus makes us, that is to share his cup. Then the image of baptism, which means to go deep, to pass the waters, to donate the donation of one's life. Having part in the glory of Jesus means for the disciples sharing his destiny. This is the greatest beauty of a person, the giving a life out of love. This must also be the glory of the disciple. And Jesus asked the sons of Zebedee if they are willing, and without hesitation they answered, "We can." It means they have not understood. At least they should have reflected a little before being so determined. If they had understood, they would have thought twice before answering. Let us think how much confusion still exists in the Church today with this glory. It must be eliminated. All the signs of the glory of this world have to be eliminated. The inclination, the kissing of the hands, the honorific titles, everything should be discarded. Otherwise, one keeps going up the ladder to get to the top positions. This is what has created the division within the first group of disciples. And Jesus said to them, "The cup that I am going to drink, you also drink. The baptism that I am going to receive, you will also receive, but to sit at my right and to my left is not for me to grant it, but for whom has been prepared. Today we know for whom it was prepared. It is for those who have the option to become servants of the brothers and sisters. Let us hear what is now the reaction of the other 10. When the 10 heard this, they became indignant at James and John. Jesus summoned them and said to them, "You know that those who are recognized as rulers over the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones make their authority over them felt. But it shall not be so among you. Rather, whoever wishes to be great among you will be your servant. Whoever wishes to be first among you will be the slaves of all. For the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and give his life as a ransom for many." The other 10 were outraged with James and John. Why do they get angry with both of them? Is it the same thing that happens in a class when a teacher, a professor repeats the lesson many times over, and there are always these two who have fallen behind and the others are angry with them because they do not pay attention? No. It is not for this reason. It is that the other 10 also want to be first. They are very far from assimilating the master's thought. And it happens that in the first group of disciples we have the first schism in the church. There is a small detail. The evangelist says, the other 10. We know that there were 10. Why does he insist on these 10? The detail is not superfluous because it makes reference to a dramatic division in the people of Israel. 10 against 2 and 2 against 10. In the days of Rehoboam, there was a division among the tribes of Israel. The 2 tribes of the south against the 10 northern tribes. What was the reason for that? Rehoboam wanted to continue to maintain the oppression over the people using his power. And the tribes of the north separated and almost reached a war that fortunately was blocked by a prophet. Otherwise, there would have been a war between sister tribes. In the group of the disciples of Jesus, this schism, this division happened too. And all the schisms in the history of the church will always have power issues as components, all of them. What does Jesus do in front of this division? He calls them to his side. Of course, they were already close to him. They were not far away, but he calls them means they were far away, they were still far away of his proposal of a new life. They are far with the heart, not physically. And Jesus says to them, "You know that among the pagans, those who are considered as rulers," it is a subtle irony of Jesus in reference to the holders of power, those who are considered as rulers. The evangelist Luke is even more explicit. He says, "Those who have complete mastery over others and pretend to be called benefactors." Luke 22:25. Euergetai was the title that many kings were given. Think of the Hellenistic kings, Ptolemy, the Seleucids, that they used the title Euergetai, the benefactors, when in fact, in reality, they were the oppressors. And Jesus refers to these powers of the world that are the rulers and oppressors instead of being servants. The disciples had several models of authority before them. They know the political leaders, they know the religious leaders, the rabbis, the scribes, the priests of the temple. How was authority exercised? How was power exercised? Authority as service. How is power exercised? Power is always diabolical because it is oppressive. Everyone exercises it in the same way, giving orders, seeking privileges, and demanding to be revered as the ceremonial prescribes. In front of them, it is always necessary to kneel, to kiss the hand. They carefully expose the titles according to the appropriate conveniences to the prestigious position that they occupy, otherwise, they get angry. This is the way how authority, which must be service, is transformed into dominion, into power. This always happens, says Jesus, but among you it is not like that. None of these types of authority and power can be taken as an example in the family of the disciples of Christ. And Jesus continues saying, it will not be like that among you. Rather, who among you wants to become great has to become a servant of others, and whoever wants to be the first to become the servant of all. This is the new logic. They will be great. They will be the first. Very good. But to be the first, they must be diakonos in Greek, and doulos. And two words that we need to understand what they mean. Diakonos is true greatness, that of being servants. Diakonos designates the service that one does spontaneously by one's own will. You must be great, but not according to the criteria from this world. The greatness and glory of this world is the opposite of being diakonos, that is, of those who choose to be a servant. If someone needs you, if you can do something for him or her, you should do it, because you are a diakonos, you are my disciples, says Jesus. Then doulos. Doulos is the slave. He is forced to do the work they ask them to do. That is, the one who no longer belongs to himself, but belongs to the boss. And who is the boss of the disciple of Christ? Anyone who needs your help. This is Christianity, not any devotion used sometimes perhaps to hide and avoid what is essential. The glory of Jesus, the glory of the disciples, is not only different from the glory of the world, but it is the opposite of the greatness of this world. In this world, the one that dominates is great. In the new world, is the one who serves is the great. In the old world, it is the one who goes up. In the new world, great is the one who goes down. In the world, the important ones are those who occupy the first position. In the new world, the world that Jesus has initiated, the place of honor is the last one, that of the slave and the servant. And Jesus says, diakonos, slave of all. It is very demanding because if you like the person you have to serve, you even find special joy in doing it. It is not a big deal. But Jesus asked the disciples to be a slave to the needs of anyone who addresses them. And then he concludes by presenting his own person. The Son of Man, this perfect image of the Father in heaven, did not come to be served, but he wants us to let him serve us. The Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. In all religions, including the Jewish one, God was served by people, a God who asked everyone to bow down in front of him. With Jesus, this face of God changes radically. Jesus does not ask to be served, but it is he who puts himself at the service of people. And he comes to rescue us from our slavery. Which one is our slavery? It is that devil that wants to take us to seek glory according to the criteria of the world. It is this demon that humanizes us, because the only way to become truly successful person is to become a servant for love of our brothers and sisters. I wish everyone a good Sunday and a good week.